It's mine. Muted.
Shut them
Okay.
down real quick. Okay.
Oh, that's
you.
me.
Yep. All right.
You just have to minimize the meeting.
You're back.
Anyway, I sorry about that glitch, but this is just to study very quickly that we showed these differences. Normals had gray matter, white matter differences, whereas traumatically brain injured subjects had a lot more water, and you can't see the difference between gray matter and white matter. It's very difficult. You can see it at the extremes, but it doesn't have this clear boundary because the shear forces stretch the axons, and water is flowing everywhere, and there's a diminution of the quality of the white matter. But this allowed us then to calculate T2 relaxation time, because we looked at T1 and it did not separate the two groups very well, nor did proton density, but T2 relaxation time did, highly significant separation, and also correlated very well with the severity of the TBI. So not everything in the MRI helps you, but now what this is, T2 relaxation time, is the time it takes for when the protons get knocked down inside the scanner, then they come back up like a top, spinning like they normally would. And with increased traumatic brain injury, it takes more time for them to come up because there's more water in their brain. There's reduced integrity of the protein lipid molecules, essentially. And
so what is, I'm sorry, this T1 measure? T2 is the rebound.
yeah,
The time of rebound. And
I'm trying to remember.
that's okay. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't.
Yeah, T2 is the one we focused on, but T2 gets knocked down, and T1, I think it's the rate of the spin. It's been a while since I did MRI stuff. And so anyway, there's a lot of good studies in here. You're welcome to at any time to look at it, including this book here that I wrote with E. Roy John. And I started writing it in 1975 and finished it in 1977. But it's available to read it. And Roy was very proud of the whole project. It took us quite a bit of time, a couple of years to it. And but you can get the best of Roy's thinking. My role in it, I was pretty much involved in neuroanatomy and structural things. I just and coming from a background of physics and math, I did that. And Roy had a background in physics too. He had a master's degree in physics, and he was part of the development of the atomic bomb in Chicago and the testing of it. And he had some funny stories to tell. In any case, both of us came from a background of physics, but I taught neuroanatomy for 2 years at Albert Einstein College of Medicine. And I just loved neuroanatomy. And Roy wasn't as sharp about neuroanatomy. He didn't really believe in structure very much. Just everything was, a whole nother different idea. But I was very focused on structure and function. And so we actually were invited to submit chapters to the chairman of the department was putting a book together. And so this is it. And we both started writing our own papers, our own chapters, and we just kept writing and writing and writing. And it was, each of us wrote so much that nobody could accept our chapters. So we decided to create a book. And so I emphasize neuroanatomy, the genesis of EEG, alpha rhythms, arousal and attention mechanisms, and the neurophysiology of emotion, information processing, and how time is represented in the brain. And this was my dissertation. I think it's mentioning that I did this kind of stuff in graduate school with rats with implanted electrodes, and they reproduce intervals of time. Let's see if I can find it. That's Roy's stuff. So you're welcome to download this. So that's emotion, limbic system, information. So this is some vectors that we put together, two different subjects. You don't have to read it. Looking at letters A, B, and C, just flashing them up, the brain actually has a representation in it of what you're saying. And at this time, Roy and I were pretty much into, this is what I was going to show you, into evoked potentials. This is my dissertation where you had a 40-second interval of time. Rats been deprived of food, and the light goes on, and they will press a bar to get food. And one group of rats, one day they get into the cage and they're pressing food, and 40 seconds after the light comes on, I turn on an electric shock. It's conditioned stimulus. And they immediately inhibited, and then I put them back in the next day as I'm measuring the EEG, and they reproduced the 40-second interval of time inside the brain. And so I have one group of rats had 3 cycles per second, 3.3, and another group did 8.2 cycles per second. So I present a light that's halfway between 3.3 and 8.2. And both groups showed this kind of process, but they would actually reproduce the 40-second interval. At 60-second interval, they reproduced the 60-second interval. But at 80 seconds, they would reproduce the 80-second interval, but now the thalamus would have a different, it came in at like 40 seconds, and then 80 seconds for the visual cortex. The midline thalamic region was 40 seconds and no 80 seconds. And the reticular formation was 80 seconds. So the brain differentiated. And what's going on, and then at 2 minutes, first of all, 2 minutes is so long, and half of the rats wouldn't connect up. The light would go on for 2 minutes, they get shocked, and the next day I turn the lights on and they just keep eating. They didn't know that it was related because they couldn't connect up the onset of the stimulus with the shock because it was too long. And so the hypothesis is that what's going on, there's loops in the brain that are retaining the interval of time. But if you go too far, then there's insufficient number of loops to reproduce that interval of time. So I came up with a whole mathematical model. Here it is. It was this model here of how the brain is organized in loops. And there's loops within loops within loops, but that's how we identify intervals of time. And the equation is K equals B over NA. K is the number of iterations in a loop. B is the interval of time. N is the number of neurons, and A is the delay between the neurons in the loops. Use that to explain how the brain tells time. And now, we don't have much time left. But also, this menu is very important because you can see all kinds of things about neurofeedback. You can find a provider near you, conceivably. You can look at here's the history and innovations that we did, and also testimonials by other people who have done neurofeedback for a long time. But this shows how our history started in 1994, and then all these different things that we implemented at different times, different years throughout the course of.
What did you maximize your speed so we're not distracted by all of those? Yeah,
Sure. And then again, you got testimonials here. And a lot of different people who have done neurofeedback, and they're all welcome to do testimonials, send them in to us. I have a bunch I haven't even put up yet. And we have the hub and spoke. It's an important product here. Richard Abbey, who was in that movie, he has 70 of these.
Yeah.
And essentially what he does is he uses the NGA software, NeuroGuide analysis, along with neurofeedback onto a computer, a laptop, and he ships that along with a cap and with paste and all that the parent needs or the person needs to wire them up. And then he uses TeamViewer to stream the EEG from the spoke to him. He's the hub. And so each of his hubs have about 10 different spokes. And they're streaming data to him. Then he does neurofeedback. He does assessment, neurofeedback in real time through a distance. So these people will be in Kansas or in Los Angeles. He's in Stanford, California. Or you can do it all around the world.
Craig Daniel also was here. He has 15 systems so far.
Oh, yeah, okay. And so that's the hub and spoke. It's a way to efficiently expand your practice. And Richard has been so successful, and he charges money for it. He's very successful financially. And he has now a grown number of staff, and nobody goes into the office anymore. They'll do it from home. And because with the COVID virus, he was in a situation of crisis where he was going to be shut down. In fact, nobody would come into his offices during the COVID. And so I suggested that he try the hub and spoke, because we'd had this model for quite a while. We didn't sell it very much. And now he adopted that and embraced it and became very successful. And then you can order here all kinds of different things. And then we have various services, including clinical report services, medical, legal services for consultation and legal cases. And we can also edit files, data, and we got ways to do workshops. And also there's the parity law put in. Congress passed a law in 2009, it was released in 2010, where if parity means that the insurance companies do not reimburse for mental health problems the same as they do for physical problems. Okay? And that's against the law since 2010. And the Republicans pushed against Obama's the one that did this. They blocked the ability to put anybody into positions to complain to. And so there are law firms that help you out now that's been staffed in Washington, D.C., and you can contact them. You have to download these letters. These are just exemplar letters, Word documents that you can modify. You essentially protest to the insurance company, says, hey, I'm helping this person. I'm using a valid method, doing QEEG assessment followed by biofeedback, and then they deny it. You then submit an appeal letter, okay? And then they deny the appeal. And then you go to then you go to Washington, D.C. with a complaint. People in Washington contact the insurance company, So you better reimburse this or you're going to be fined. So it's the parity law. You should use it. It'll empower everybody if they have any problem getting third-party reimbursement. And you can let your patients do it because they should get reimbursed. If you have them pay out of pocket to you or some percentage, whatever it is, and then instruct the patient to go through this process, give them these, download the letters, both in network and out of network, and they show them how to download them and send them in, and they can get reimbursed. The parity law. So I just want to inform everybody about these things. And then, of course, you can contact our team at any time. Here's the team. Ernesto, Becky, Emin. There's Becky McAllister, Rebecca McAllister. She's a neuropsychologist. Yeah, but
She's right there.
I know she is, but the people on the forum don't know that can't see Becky here. So Becky is here. She's helping us out, and she was at the house on Friday when everybody got together and had a good time. So, having said that, I'm going to close down. We're going to take a break. Is there any questions that anybody has about anything? Yeah. Look at chat. So you're claiming somebody is drunk?
No. Yeah, automatically done.